I'm going to be making a coaster in this video, a mat for a bottle or a glass, and I'm going to be basing it on the model that I see in the top right corner here. So this looks like, to me, it's a series of ellipses that have been rotated in this radial pattern to create this coaster. So I don't think it's going to be that difficult to make, but let's see how things go. Now to do this, I'm going to start off by creating some profiles for this. So I'm going to come to a circle with a given center and radius by holding the mouse button down, and I'm going to be making sure it has a radius of 50 millimeters or a diameter of 100, and let's just place that here to the left of that graphic. Okay then, I'm also of course making sure that I'm working with my grid as a 5 millimeter grid, pale blue lines. Okay, now I've also got this little circle in the center here as well. So to represent that, I'm also going to right click on this tool again to bring up the dialog box. And I think I'm going to put that to 7.5 millimeters, because if I draw that in the center of this larger circle, that's going to give me about the right proportions. And I also have these little circles going around the outside here as well. So I'm going to right click on the circle tool. I'm going to give these a diameter, or sorry, a radius, should I say, I think of 2.5 or 5 millimeter diameter. Is that going to be a bit on the big side? We'll see. We'll see how this works out. And at the moment now, look, I cannot actually put that in the right position. So it's either touching the central circle or it's too far away. So I'm actually going to go to step lock here. I'm going to right click on step lock. I'm going to put my step spacing here to 2.5. Whoops, not 25, 2.5 millimeters. And that now means I can snap to the midpoint of that grid, and that feels a little bit more precise. So let's now select this circle, and I'm going to use my radial let's have a see, what is it? Rotate the selected objects. That's it. I'm going to rotate this now around this central point. So I've selected that circle. I'm going to hold my mouse button down over the transformation tool, which is tool A7, then release on that rotate selected objects tool. And let's have a see. I want to have this repeated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times. And if I if I look at my dialog box here, it's actually set up correctly for me, because I'm going to repeat it 11 times. So I've got 1, and I'm going to repeat it another 11 times, which gives me 12 in total. And each rotation is going to be 30 degrees. Now, if I think about this, if I've got 12 objects, like a face of a clock, I've got 12 hours in half a day, and each of those hour positions is 30 degrees apart. It means 12 o'clock is going to be pointing straight up, and then 1, 2, 3 o'clock is pointing to the right, which is a right angle. So it's going to be 1 o'clock is 30, 2 o'clock is 60, 3 o'clock is 90 degrees, and then if I proceed all the way around the face, I'm going to end up at 360. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Another way of looking at this is if I bring up a calculator here. Let's just make sure that calculator is a little less large. And if I take 360 and I divide that by 12, I'm going to get 30 degrees. Okay, so with that selected, I'm clicking OK. And now I'm going to click on the center of the coaster, and that's going to create that pattern. Okay, next I'm going to put my ellipse in. So let's come to my shapes tool here, which normally looks like this. And I'm going to hold the mouse button down and come to my ellipse, should I say, with a given center. And now what I'm going to do, I'll perhaps come up to gridlock again here, and I'm going to just position this and then try and draw out my ellipse. Now that's obviously in the wrong place. I'm going to right click. I'm going to try again. In the wrong place again. Let's try there. Okay, that's looking quite promising, but I still feel as if it's slightly off. So let's come back to step lock here, and let's try and find a point that's going to be a little bit better. No, that still isn't there. So actually, I think, isn't it? No, maybe that's correct, because I'm looking at the way this ellipse loops around, and I think that might be okay. We'll see how it goes. Fingers crossed we are good. Okay, now then, with this ellipse, I can see that the ellipse needs to have a thickness to it. Let me just try one more there. I'm going to actually try that one there. Can I go a bit wider? No, I'm going to stick with the first. So fingers crossed we're going to be good. I need to have some thickness to the ellipse. So I'm going to select that ellipse. I'm going to drag it to the side there temporarily. In fact, before I drag it, let's put on gridlock. And then that way I know it's going to be sticking precisely where I want it to be. Now I'm going to come to the contour tool, which is this tool here, B6. And I'm going to have a 2.5 millimeter contour, graphical path, 1 contour line. And I'm going to click on the internal edge, and that gives me that little thickness of the line there of the material. Now I might actually group that together. Yes, in fact, no, I'm not going to group it. I'm basically going to make it into a path. Okay, so make it into a path basically means that it treats that as one kind of polygon. Okay, so edit, make path with it selected. And now I am going to drag that in and reposition it where it was. And finally here, let's come back to the transformation tool, and it's the same settings because effectively, in this case, I'm going to have a total of 12 repeats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Good. Click on OK, click on the center, and that's going to create my coaster. That's a pretty good representation. I like that a lot. Okay, so let's now work out what I'm going to do here. I'm going to select all of this, I think. I'm going to copy and paste it with the grid lock turned on. Bring that one to the side because that's going to be my master version, master copy. And then let's just delete things I don't want. Now I don't want that outer circle. And also I want to do some contouring in blue. Now let me come to the contour tool here. Let me just clarify first of all what I'm doing. I'm wanting to make it so that it's only going to cut the bits I want it to cut. If I select everything here and basically cut everything out, I'm just going to end up with a pile of bits. And the way that our laser cutter works is if I set the line color to blue, it will cut everything. That's not what we want. What we want to do is have more control over what cuts. So instead of doing that, I'm going to get my contour tool. I'm now going to put a 0mm contour setting, graphical, one contour, in blue, and I can now start to click where I want to contour. Now, for me, the problem here is that I can't see the difference very clearly between the blue line and the black line. So I'm going to undo those 3 contours in blue, and I want to make it so that I can see the difference more clearly. So let's now select this image. I'm going to go to the line color. I'm going to make it this faint gray. And now I can still see it, but I'll hopefully be able to see all the contours coming through. Now I come to the contour tool, make sure it's blue, and I can now start to click on these contours. Now at this point, I'm going to save my file and then continue and see if I can actually cause it to crash intentionally. So I'm going to pause the video, save the file, and then we're going to carry on. Okay, there we are. I've saved it. There's my file name at the top. I normally put version numbers and I haven't here. That's very naughty of me. Yes, dear me. So let's have a see. I can keep going here and notice I'm clicking on the internal edge of each of these shapes. Okay, I need to come in here again. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. Let's just save this as V2. Ah, there we go. I knew I'd get it in there some way. Notice I've not cut out the external profile yet because that's the last profile I want to do. Because if I do the external profile first, then it means that the internal shape here is kind of loose in the laser cutter and things can get dislodged. Okay, so let's see if I can actually crash this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on a tiny little shape in here. Well, that worked. Can I crash it? Oh, there we go. Okay, and because I wasn't careful where I was clicking, it's crashed. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do now is I'm going to have to Control-Alt-Delete Task Manager. Let's obviously select text off design, end task, close that down, bring back up text off design, and then hopefully we can go to recent files. Let's see, where are we? Now look, it's not actually showing me the recent file there, so I'm going to have to pause the video and reopen the file. Okay, so I've got it back, and what I'm going to do this time is come back to my contour tool, and now I'm going to be a lot more careful about where I click. Okay, so now I want to be clicking on the internal edge here, not on the line, not on the line. I click on the internal edge, the internal face of the shape with precision to make sure it does what I want it to do. And again, what I'm going to do here is save it regularly, so if it does crash, everything's absolutely fine. Okay, I'll do that run round there, and then let's see if we can do. How far do I want to go here? Look, there's little tiny triangles just there, and then I think I'm going to finish by doing the circles and then the external edge. Okay, we are there. Now for the circles, what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to just get the selection tool, and I'm going to now click and then shift click on those circles. And the inner circle, let's make sure that is blue. Okay, and then now I can come back to the contour tool, and the last thing I'm going to do is click on the external edge. And the reason why I'm doing this is because normally our laser cutter cuts in the order that the lines are drawn, and hopefully that will be the case. We've got a new laser cutter, so I haven't tested that out yet, but hopefully that will be the case. And there we are. That is the CAD file ready for me to rock and roll. So I am going to go ahead and save this one final time. Let's save that as version 3. And in this video, I'm not going to show the output. I'm just going to stop there. But in the lesson, I will have some samples to show you. Okay, so there you go. We're done.